this to see the matches. And wherever, in any trophy, any championship, Goa, Kerala, Bengal were the three states, important states in the country which really ruled the football in those days. And lately we have seen that something is going wrong, something which we expected is not happening in spite of all the support, all the criteria being adopted by the government. See, government has been supporting the sports right from day one. In fact, sports minister is very eager to see that we retain that glory once again. And that is, he has supported this summit full-heartedly. His presence today morning indicates that he is going to come tomorrow evening to see, go through the recommendations also. But this summit is aimed with we are moving with a particular target. And target is that you interact with all the sections, all the stakeholders who are part of the football, who want at heart football to come up, and who are going to come up with serious recommendations. And I'm sure that the sports minister and the chief minister of Goa, Dr. Pramod Samant, will give full support to the recommendations which will be placed before them. Because these recommendations are coming from the stakeholders. It's not Tom, Dick and Harry simply saying something, recommending something. After deliberations, there is going to be a presentation on the recommendations, and then the valedictory function will be attended by all of us, and we will see how best these recommendations can be implemented. Government will fully support us on this issue, and I'm happy that all the panelists have come, all the coaches who have been invited have come, and their contribution is going to be very important. So I request all of you to come out with open heart, all your suggestions, all your recommendations, what you think Goa should do to regain the glory of football in the national and international level. With these words, I once again welcome you and thank all the participants who have come here. I congratulate Goa Football Association and Goa Football Development Council for taking this initiative. It is really a good initiative, I would say. When they approached me, I said, go ahead, full-hearted support. In fact, sports minister also liked the idea. He had also extended his full support. He was there for press conference. He came today morning also for the inaugural ceremony. And I'm sure that we should all work out with only one aim. Let us make football the glory of Goa. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure Goa is going to regain her lost glory again. May I request Shri Govind Gaude, the Honorable Minister for Sports, a beacon of inspiration and leadership, whose presence enriches our program, to kindly address the gathering.
Good morning to you all. Goa Football Development Council, in association with the Goa Football Association, it's the first kind of it summit has been organized in the state of Goa. And on this occasion, we have Honorable MLA of Margao and ex-Chief Minister of Goa, Shriman Digambarji Kamath, my own Gfdc member secretary and the Executive Director of Sports Authority of Goa, Madam Dr. Geeta Nagvekar, the person who has shouldered the responsibilities of the Goa Football Association and marching towards development of the football, putting every passion and determination, what is the responsibility, what is the duties, has been assigned, and to make this football, to take this football to a greater height. That is President of the JFA, Shri Caetano Fernandez, our own Padma Shri, who has given the best for the country, Shriman Brahmananda Shankavalkarji, Shri Derek all the prominent experts in the field of the football discipline, the personalities who has given the immense contribution towards the development of this football and making football a state sport which has been announced by the government of Goa in the year 2012. And this has happened only because the people or the sports or the footballers has taken the immense effort for promotion of this football. Once upon a time when there was no infrastructure, the people or the whatever I have seen, the great footballers who has been represented to Goa, who has represented to the India, has been played on the rough grounds with the barefoots. But today, I think at least in the field of the football, the government of Goa and the private sector, the NGOs, the academics has enough and efficient infrastructure in the state of Goa. But only lack is that the passion or the motivation we need to give to the young football minds. There are a numbers of reasons. Perhaps the football may go on to a little downline. Because once upon a time when we go 30 years, 40 years back, football or the cricket was only two major sports were playing in the state of Goa. But now there are almost 50 disciplines has been played in the state of Goa. And every player is taking the keen interest in their interested field or the chosen field. And maybe the one reason the people or the football young minds is not attracting to the football. But there are so many people, what I have seen that during the rainy season, during the hot season, summer season, everybody is playing the football. But the football which they are playing, we need to give a motivation, we need to give them a platform. And that is why today's summit has been organized by the Gfdc and GFC. I am congratulating to my own executive director and the JFA president and honorable MLA of Margao, who has come all with these innovative ideas. See, unless and until we make a debate, discussion, and when we are going to get the prominent intentions from the people who has given the best in the field of the football, the expertise is very important. There are so many professional clubs, amateur clubs, but we need to promote or we need to give some support. And that is why government is keen enough to support not only the football discipline, but every discipline, because it is our prime duty. Because we can get the name and fame in only two fields, that is the sports and the art and culture. And luckily, both the departments are with me. And before I become the MLA, I was talking on the two fields, two disciplines, two streams, that is the art and culture and the sports, which can give the glory to our state, our country. And that is why, after deliberate discussion, the panelists will going to put their experience before, and they are also going to answer the questions which has been raised by the presentees over here. I'm not going to talk more on this. I just wanted to listen also. I'm also going to wait for some time. But my only appeal to each and every Goans or the prominent football club president or their executive committee members, the professional clubs, we have also decided to give the support, little bit support to the other clubs also who is going to give the best. But most of the people, most of the clubs expect a lot of things from the government. But unless and until you give the performance or you show the results, it is very difficult government to support in all angles. And that is why I just urge and appeal to each and every, and especially to the Goa Football Association, my Gfdc. There are so many centers are also running. We had to appoint also the coaches to give the boost to the young minds. After deliberate discussion by the panelist and the issues raised by the young minds or the sport with the people from the sporting field, especially the football discipline. And also I appeal to each and every print media and the electronic media, the reporters, to also take an active part, because they are the people who understand, who listens. They are the people who knows, and the people around the sporting grounds, they are talking the negative also, the positive also, and they are the much more experienced, because we just wanted to share our experience. Because most of the time many clubs or the many sports personality is not coming directly to the department or the my sports authority of Goa. They just give some suggestions to the media, and then media is getting it, because media is a good friend. If we want to develop the football or any field, then media has to play a very important role, vital role. And that is why media people and the media has also have to give their suggestions. I thanks to each and everyone who has been present over here. And thank you, the president of the BPS Margao, Mr. Yogiraj Kamath, who has been given the all support to organize this summit. I thanks each and every executive committee member of the GFA, all the participants for making this and taking this summit. And I hope this summit will reach to a greater height. Thank you, one and all. Let us play football. Let us take this football and bring the same glory which was there in the year 2004, 2005, and in the year 1990s, wherever in the elderly people who has taken each and every Goa's football moment to the international level. I hope the international players will be created from the state of Goa, as it is rightly mentioned by the Honorable MLA, Shriman Digambar Kamath, that once upon a time Goa, Kerala and Bengal were the pioneer states in developing the football. Let us take this football, because football आमच्या सगळ्या रक्तान आसा. जशे गोंयकारांक शीत आनी कडयेचो एक आस्वाद आसा, तसोच तरेचो प्रत्येक मनीस संवसारान येवचे पयलू किक मारूनच जन्माक आयिल्लो आहा. कारण ताच्या आवयच्या पोटान तो किक मारतालो आनी आवयक एक सांगतालो की हांव म्हजी तूं चिंता करूं नाका. आनी ही चिंतेचे जे थंड जर रावलो जाल्यार आवयच्या पोटाक आकांत येतालो, आनी म्हणूनच त्या वेळार तो किक मारतालो पळय न्ही, तेन्ना आवयक दिसतालें म्हजो भुरगो खेळटा, म्हजो भुरगो हांसता, म्हजो भुरगो खदळटा. आनी म्हणूनच हेच आमकां मुखार व्हरपाक जाय. आनी त्या प्रमाणे फुटबॉल जे स्टेट स्पोर्ट्स म्हणून डिक्लेअर जाल्लो आसा, ताका एक मुखार आनी एक उंचाय दिवया. कितें जर कमी जर असलें जाल्यार म्हाजो डिपार्टमेंट जे आसा ते डिपार्टमेंट सपोर्ट करपा खातीर तयार आसतलें, इतलेंच सांगता आनी म्हजे एक दोन शब्द आटोप ते घेता. Thank you, each and everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom and inspiration. We shall now commence with the summit. I request Dr. Geeta and Dr. Caetano to kindly escort our guests amongst the audience. Lady, ladies and gentlemen, check. We shall now begin today's summit with the first topic, which is football coaching, the pre and post license period. The moderator for this session is Shri Savio Madeira, international footballer and technical director of Sporting Club de Goa. The panelists are Shri Shabir Ali, Dhyan Chand awardee and former India captain, Shri Derek Pereira, former India under-23 coach, Shri Mariano Dias, technical director, Goa Football Association, and Shri Pradyum Reddy, CEO, Dempo Sports Club. The session on football coaching. Shri Savio, please take over.
Good morning, everybody, and a big welcome for the Gfdc Football Summit 2024. The Football Summit is organized by Gfdc in association with Goa Football Association and with active support of Oz, Association for Well-Being of Elderly Sportsperson. And before going further, I would like to commend one person here who is the brainchild for this summit to happen. And that is, I would say, Sir Albert Culasso. Let's try to put our hands together for him. Now I would like to call all our four panelists, Shabir Ali Sir, Derek Pereira, Pradyum Reddy, and Mariano Dias. Please try to take your chairs. As we have heard from Jenny that there are 8 sessions going on to be done through the day, and ours is the first session on coaching, pre and post license period. We will discuss a little bit on how coach education came into existence in India. We will also touch upon how coach education does help coaches for their development and for the development of players, and through that, development of the game. As some of you must be aware, coach education came into existence through NIS diplomas and AFC courses. And NIS courses started way back in 1962-63, before I was born. And it was conducted in 3 centers in Patiala, Bangalore, and Calcutta. But right now, it is done only in Calcutta at the moment. It's a 10-month diploma which they have, starts from April and finishing in July. And if we try to talk about AFC courses, AFC coach education activities started in 1989, when the coach education technical department of the AFC was formed. And the AFC had their first education, coach education in C license in 1994. And they started in phases to experience how coach education can help evolve players and the game. And from there, they did B and A licenses in 96 and 97. Now, when did AFC courses come into India? The first course which happened C license in India was in Bangalore in 1997. And the first license course which happened in Goa was in 1999, which me and Derek Marian was a part of it. Not Marian, me and Derek. And at that time, AIFF did not have local coach educators to conduct courses. So AIFF had to depend on AFC to ask for coach educators to come down to India to conduct courses. And slowly, AIFF then tried to prepare local coach educators, and for the moment, there are a lot of local coach educators conducting courses. Now, this is a brief what I wanted to discuss on NIS diplomas, AFC courses. And there was a big debate some time back that some who attended NIS diplomas, they said NIS is the best. Some said AFC courses are good. Now, is NIS diploma needed? Yes, because it's a prerequisite for coaches who attend NIS diplomas to get a government job. And now comes the club licensing criteria, which did come into prominence in 2014 in the country. And club licensing criteria did not consider NIS diplomas as a criteria for a coach to coach a club. So this is what I wanted to talk about brief. Now, to cover this topic on coaching pre and post license period, we have 40 minutes and 15 minutes for Q&A if you all have any questions for the panelists. And tomorrow, the panelists along with the moderators will sit together to brainstorm what are the things which we really need to develop in coach education, in development of coaches, in coaching, and how we can develop the players and the game. And tomorrow, we will try to present it and give it to Gfdc and GFA for future action to be taken. Now, to do that, we have 4 panelists, esteemed panelists amongst ourselves. We have first Shabir Ali sir, who is a Dhyan Chand awardee, AIFF executive member, who has got a very good playing record, played for the country from 74 to 84, captained India in 81 and 84, played for the country 102 caps, scoring 30 goals. That is about his playing career. Coaching career comes where he coached state teams of Telangana, West Bengal, Goa. And club football comes from coaching Mohammedan, Salgaonkars, Mahindra and Mahindra, Vasco, Churchill Brothers. And at present, he is the president of Abbas Union, which did take part in playoffs, which they narrowly missed to get back in the I-League 2. Coming back to his coach education, he has done his NIS in Calcutta 88-89. He did 2 courses in Germany in 94 and 90. And last year, he got his A diploma. This is Shabir Ali, one of our panelists for you. Can we have a round of applause for him? Our second panelist, who is our very own Goan, Derek Pereira, the president of Oz. A warrior on the field, which we all have seen him. Played for the national team from 84 to 91. Played for Salgaonkar for 16 years. I was one more than you, Derek. I played 17. Yeah, because he went to Tata's. So 16 years, 80-83, and played for Tata in 83-84. Coaching at various clubs started with Salgaonkar under 19. Then with Vasco Sports Club, Mahindra United, Pune FC, Salgaonkars, DSK Shivajians. He was the head coach of under 23 national team. Technical director also, he was there of youth development of FC Goa and a pro diploma holder. He has also attended a coach education Raymond Verain on conditioning course. This is Derek Faraz. Can we give him a round of applause, please? The third panelist we have is Pradyum Reddy, who is the CEO at the moment with Dampo Sports Club. And we all know they have been promoted to the I-League this year. His coaching career started in US with Manhattan College, director of coaching in New York. And his coaching back started in India with Shillong Lajong. He was with Bangalore FC in the I-League. In ISL, he had different roles with Delhi Dynamos as a technical consultant, with Pune FC City, TD, head coach, assistant coach, and with Odisha FC as sporting director, consultant in 2022. At present, he is the coach educator with AIFF, conducting CB, and he is assisting in restructuring the coach education program. He is also a panelist in ISL and in the World Cup, providing expert analysis, which you must have heard now since the ISL is going on. In coach education, he has done a lot of courses, although he has finished BE and Pro in India. But he has his coaching, director of coaching in NSCAA. He has also got a USSF A license and lot more license courses under NSCAA, USSF and UFA level 3. This is Pradyum ready for you. Please give a round of applause for Pradyum. And another very good one of our own, fourth panelist will be Mariano Diaz today. At present, he is the technical coordinator and a director with GFA and also a coach educator with AIFF. Played for Salgonka Sports Club, MRF, Churchill Brothers, represented Goa in juniors and seniors. Coached teams of Churchill Brothers winning the I-League and the Federation Cup. Coach Cesar Goa won Santosh Trophy for Goa, which we have seen a picture, but he is not to be seen in that picture. Right, Marian? So, assistant coach for senior national team and assistant coach for Salgonka Sports Club. He holds a pro diploma also in the country. So, we have 3 coaches. Round of applause, please. So, we have 3 coaches who have a pro diploma and a diploma sitting on the panel here. So now, as I just said, we are going to talk about coaching, pre and post licensing period. My first question would go to Shabir Ali sir. You can have the mic there. You have undergone NIS diploma and also attended courses in Germany and attended a diploma in India. Can you share your thoughts on what made you to go through these courses and in what way did it help you in your coaching? Over to you, sir.
Before I answer your question, I would like to thank Mr. Albert Colasso and my friend Barbanan for inviting me over here. I think I'm the only odd man from outside. But I learned a lot when I was with Salgaonkar and other clubs in Goa. Really, that time, as the Minister Sahab has said, not that infrastructure, now it is there. That time we have to search for the ground and all other things. But from the day one, I enjoy and I give some result also. Coming back to your question, I played for the country. What I am today is just because of football only, and I'm here also because of football. When I finished my career in '87, I just thought I got so many things from football that I have to give back. So that's why I joined the NIS. Most of the coaches, especially in Calcutta, the internationals, they don't want to do the NIS. Even jokingly, I also used to say, NIS means nothing in sports. That I tell in front of my coaches during the NIS also. But what I learned over there, really, maybe equivalent or more than a license, I think. Only thing, NIS is too lengthy and more on the basic. But now, maybe change. I'm talking about 88, 89 when I have done the coaching course in Calcutta. So there are a lot of things to learn. They go very deep and all. Everything was there which I was not knowing as a player. Then I joined as a coach. I learned a lot of things. Maybe small things also, that the coach has to face the sun and all other things. Then another point is kinesiology, training method, sports medicine, all other things were there. At that time, the coaching license was not there. To me, of course, coach education is a must. The player has to learn or the coach has to learn, but he has to implement. But that time, it was not that much. Now it is there, as the Savio just now said, that with NIS you can get the job, but with the A license only you have to coach club, you can't get the job. Minus plus always there, as I said, more about basic and not that much about the top football, you can say, match analysis and other things. But now with license and with all this, everything you get on the internet, And I also, another thing, some of the players, they used to say, "Arey, kya coaching, kya kuch nahi hai." Of course, lot of thing is there. You have to learn. You have to go by the books and all. But not all the time. Sometimes you have to see what you have to get. One thing happened. Of course, some formalities, basic or whatever is there. You have to start with the warm-up and all other thing. But what I have seen, Derek was with me when Milovan was there. He started with the handball. So in handball, you can get anything. This you can do sometime because the players are not in the mood or they don't want to do the routine. So one of the physio was telling when I was in Bombay, "Arey, you didn't do the warm-up and all the things started all of a sudden." So I said, "By this I am following because one of the best coaches in the world, he used to start with the handball so that the player will come into mood." So all things that you have to take into consideration because some of the senior, they say, "Hey, what this book, that and all." Of course, education is the must and you have to learn. And what AFC, AFF doing is a good job. Hope these coaches will come up and give their best. One more point I would like to add, last one. Everyone has to see that they are doing the license, but the problem to get a job or get a team, that we have to do. Sometime back, one of the assistant coaches of Mohun Bagan, he said, "We are doing a license, but we are not getting a job and all." Last 2-3 years back, he told. And Minister Saab is there. I request also to just give an appointment to the state players and all that, because in all other states, we are not. This will help me to tell our Chief Minister, Mr. Revant Reddy, who is a football lover, now at least something is happening. But in other places, not much happening in football.
Thank you very much, sir. One thing what I want to say is, ask again, is it after NIS that it pushed you to attend the courses in Germany and AIFF? Yes. Yes or no?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Because to me, there is no end of learning. When I did the A license, the foreign coach was telling, "I don't want to kill you and all." I said, "I come to learn here," because I did very late. It was, I think, in 2013. Before that, I got a chance to do from Germany also, where I learned a lot of things, which helped me to coach the top team in India.
Thank you very much, sir. A question for our panelist, Derek Pereira. You have played under some good coaches in your playing career. To come into coaching role, did any of the coaches had any influence on you to take up coaching and subsequently attend coach education? Can you share your thoughts, please?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Savi, for the intro. My journey as a coach, it's a long story, but I'll make it brief because we don't have much time. So my journey started in coaching as soon as the year I resigned from playing football, professional football. Having played for nearly 2 decades as a professional, the only thought in my mind was to stay connected with football. And the only option for me was coaching. So as the day I retired, to our good fortune, Sir Albert Culasso organized a C license course here in Goa, which helped me to I finished my C license, and then I got an assignment as an assistant coach to under-19 Salgonka team, which lasted only 2 months. And then I was part of the staff, coaching staff for the Goa's under-21 nationals in Dumka, Bihar, which we won, beating Bengal. The day we landed in Goa, Vasco Club came calling me to train their team in the second division national league then. I readily agreed and I started my coaching there. Since I had played with top coaches, my first coach, Mr. Shanmugam, through whom I learned discipline, to be disciplined on and off the pitch. And the last coach was Mr. Shabir Bhai, who taught us to be serious on the pitch. There were other coaches also, Mr. Sirish Milovan, my first national coach from Yugoslavia. Learned a lot from him too. Mr. P.K. Banerjee, Naimuddin, S.S. Hakim. So I played under a lot of all these coaches and learned a lot. So this helped me, this experience helped me to go about with my job at that moment. In the first 2-3 years of my work with Vasco Sports Club, with just C license. As a footballer, I thought, playing for so many years, I thought I could coach any team with my experience. But no, we need to do the licenses. Doing these licenses help you to improve your ability to coach and manage teams, professional teams. So it's very important that we do our licenses. I would advise, especially players who are retiring or before retiring, to take up their coaching. This was an advice given to me by Danny McLean, the coach of Churchill Brothers, when he was the technical director of Goa state team. So he told me, Camilo, Mauricio, Alfonso, when you're playing, if you do your licenses, you will be ready to take up a team when you retire. And also it will make you a better player. And after doing my licenses, I feel I'm a better player now than when I was playing.
So that is where you show your skills in the veterans tournament, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I would say that we all know in Goa how influential was Mr. Shanmugam to turn our careers, to have that transition from playing to coaching, because we were more time with him than any other coach. May his soul rest in peace, because for me, he tried to change us to what we are today. Thank you, Derek. Going to our panelist of Pradyum, as I had introduced you, you have done some of your licenses outside the country and done AFC licenses from B to Pro in India. What are the major changes that coaches face in Goa today, because it's the summit in Goa, you have been in Goa, you have been coming to Goa, in terms of education and training?
Thank you, Savio. Good morning. So I think one of the biggest things, and this happens across India and especially in Goa too, is our coach education system isn't catered to the customer. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of ex-players or current players, young players, coaches in Goa who might not be fluent in English, might be more comfortable in Konkani, and yet all our coach education, and this is 80 years after independence, every coach education course in India is done through an English medium. And countries in Iran, other places in Asia, they do it in their own languages. So I think we have to adapt, and so then obviously that we can target many, many more people and get more youngsters into coaching if we do that. I think we have to adapt with technology. We're still stuck in old-fashioned ways. I've just finished a B license where we spent the last 2 hours where people were writing an exam. I think we're past that. No coach that goes for a job is ever asked to write an exam and gets his coaching job. If we're hiring coaches at Dempo, we look at their ability on the field as coaches. We look at their interaction with other kids. So I think the coach education has to move to the requirements of the job. So maybe we get more practical coaching and aspects. And I think other areas where we're looking at, like Gfdc obviously is working with a lot of youngsters. And that's where we need to grow the coach education. Other countries have specific pathways for youth. And what I mean by that is you can go from your D to your C to your B to your A license. If you want to be a professional coach and go in that pathway, do your pro. Scotland have always had this, many countries now have this, where you can specialize and be a C, B, A license coach only in youth. So you're specializing in that. And it's the same with our education system. You do your B.Ed or your Bachelor's of Physical Education, you do a Master's. It doesn't mean all of you are going to become a university lecturer or coach, teach 10th standard students or high school. You might do a Montessori course and specialize with kindergarten. And I think that's an area where our coach education hasn't caught up with global standards, where we don't target the entry-level footballer, both female players and male players. So we don't specialize in how to coach 5, 6, 7, and 8-year-olds. And if you don't have the basics, as we know in education, if you can't teach kids at school from those early ages, you're going to have problems later. So it's exactly the same in football. So I think that's an area which definitely we need to address as a state, and hopefully that'll have a knock-on influence in the rest of the country, and they'll copy and take those changes from us.
One point I take from your suggestion, what you just mentioned, that language. And when it comes to language, if you know, we have more than 22 languages in the country. More than 22. So are we going to, that was the challenge for me when I was heading the coach education, are we going to change the content to each language? Can be done. But do we have competent coach educators in that particular language where it can help the student coaches who are coming? That is a very good point which we can take up. And the point which you had said about technology, we'll try to talk a little bit about more. But thank you, Pradyum, on that. I come to Mariano. You are a coach educator with AIFF from 2016, right? Okay. What are the major changes you have witnessed in coach education that has helped Goan football and Goan coaches and Indian coaches to take up their career in coaching?
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank the organizers for this opportunity. And coming to your question, Savio, coach education plays a very important role in the coach's development process. So coach education is the foundation for coaching football. And coaches who have football knowledge, higher are the chances that they develop better quality players. So players need good coaches to develop players. Secondly, if you look at coaching, coaches develop better under the guidance of a knowledgeable and competent coach, and players develop better under the guidance of a knowledgeable and competent coach. So keeping this in mind, I would like to answer your question. Those changes that were observed or witnessed during that decade, the professional players, top players who played or who represented the country also at the national level, and the players who played for the clubs. After the retirement, they tried to do their coach education and try to get the batches. And these players immediately got the opportunity to work in their own clubs or in the academies which All India Football Federation had, the youth development academies at elite level. And also working at club level, then grassroots level. I think this opportunity immediately after their retirement has helped them to take football coaching as a career.
Adding to the question which I asked, we are having a lot of Gfdc coaches here. It is a Gfdc. It is for the development of Goan football. Do you think it has helped Goan coaches, coach education, and in what way?
Yes, coach education has helped to begin with their career at initial level, but they need to develop themselves to, if they want to go at a higher level, and to develop better players for Goa and for the whole country.
Yeah, there are Goan coaches here, but do you think they need mentoring, guiding after they finish their coaching licenses, or we just leave them for
Yes,
whatever they want to do?
it's not enough that you have done the courses, you have gained the knowledge, but it is also very important to develop your ability to help to improve coaches. And that will not come easily.
Okay.
Yeah, just adding one thing. This will help the player to coach them in a proper way, in a correct way also. As I said, as a player, okay, I learn. But the basic and other thing, which we were not knowing, this came to know after doing coaching courses.
Adding to that, Mariano, before I go to Shabir Ali sir again, can you share some success stories of positive development of coach education in AIFF? What did really happen for coach education to grow and to be where it is today? Can you share some thoughts?
I think the biggest success in India was the introduction of coach education by Rob Ban in 2011. That was the major success. And after that, Scott O'Donnell took over and you took over, and the list of the success is too big. I will touch on few. The first thing was signing of AFC convention with Asian Football Confederation. Then getting the coach educators pathway to India from FIFA. That was another one. And splitting of 13 days course, 21 days course, license course into smaller modules, that has helped the coaches to go back and reflect and come back again. And organizing online international conferences on psychology, scouting, if I can name.
Thank you, Mariano. We are coming closer to the time, but the second round goes to Shabir Ali sir. What I would ask with you is discuss how coaching licenses have changed the landscape for coaches in India, and have they improved coaching quality? That is what the coaches, have they improved the coaching quality?
Yeah, to some extent, yes. As I said before also, coaching is the must. And because of this licensing and all other thing, all the states, they have got the D license, C, B and all. At least they know the basic, which help them to teach the player in a good way, in a correct way.
Thank you. Coming to Pradyum, you did touch upon technology, which I have a question for you. How can technology be leveraged to improve coach education and coaching in Goa and India? And are there any examples of this being effectively implemented?
Well, I think it depends on what level. I mean, if we're starting with the younger ones, coaching, I think there's a lot of best practices that are conducted abroad. I think Derek and all of us were discussing this before, that there's a lack of games. So if you're coaching, you're teaching something on a course, and then you don't get to put it into practice, then it doesn't help. And obviously, a lot of coaches don't have access to as many matches. So if there is a system by, where I think that some of the clubs are doing it, there are little baby leagues going on in Goa, there's a few of those. If that's more accessible to people, whether, even streaming it, and it's happening in other cities in India, then coaches can get exposed to watching youth levels. So you're watching a 5-a-side game, you're watching a 7-a-side level, which is more appropriate to what you're coaching. I think then when you get into the higher levels of coaching in terms of technology, again, can we do courses from a coach education point of view where people physically don't have to come there, where we can have more interactions online? And I don't mean just conferences where people are just talking and they're listening. It could be practical demonstrations where we're getting coaches mic'd up, putting on sessions, and it can be interactive. I think going into the higher level, when you get into the professional levels, we need coaches who get exposed to things that like maybe FC Goa are using. They're using sports science, GPS, they're using all that data, which a lot of coaches at the younger levels, you don't get exposed to it on the coaching courses, and unless you work in an ISL club, you won't get to see that. So as a learning, that could be something that's introduced to others, maybe even GFA could bring in some technology with the Goa Pro League, where the coaches can then have access to it. And I think another thing that other professions have, which football professions own, is internships. And I think if we can get programs where GFDC coaches can do an internship at some of the clubs, or club coaches at a inter-village or local level, third division, second division clubs can intern with higher level clubs, you get that learning or transfer of learning, because the learning isn't just in the classroom. So we have to think of creative ways to sort of help coaches develop.
Yeah, I like your last point, Pradyum, which you mentioned, internship of coaches, especially from GFDC going to clubs. But the question is whether the clubs, coaches who are there, whether they are open to get them, or there is still some insecurity in them. That is what has to be seen, but that's a good point. The other one which I wanted to discuss was about technology, which we just discussed upon. And since the start of AI, there are so many things which you just type it what you want and you get it. So for the coaches nowadays, the creativity of planning and thinking what they have to do is getting lesser. That is what I feel. And the planning time is less, and they do whatever they want, which on the other side can completely go wrong for us. So that is what one point what I had. Coming to Derek, you are ready for one more? Okay. Do you see whether coaching licenses adequately address the needs of both grassroots, because we have youth coaches and professional coaches? How can they be better catered to different levels?
I think we have the resources, we have the licenses in place to educate our coaches. What is important is we need to have a competitive system and a structure in place. This is the backbone of all the advanced countries for development of players and coaches. If we have that in place, we need competition, which we lack. If we have competition, then coaches will evaluate their performances, improve coaching methods, and create a pathway of continuous improvement. So I think it's very important that we have competition in place. By saying this, we have in ISL team, there are coaches who worked with grassroots and youth coaches, and because of the system have gone up to lead or coach, manage the first teams of their countries. So I think it's important that we have more competition. If you go on FIFA analysis, if you see in those countries, an average coach will have 30 to 40 games, including friendlies, in a 10-month season. With that, they have 150 to 200 sessions during that time. So it helps them to grow as coaches, and I think that's the way forward.
Thank you, Derek. I will add to that, as Pradyum has said, if we can have specialized licenses for particular age groups, that will change a lot. And the next thing what I would suggest is, we start from the Blue Cubs. We recently started under 13 and under 15. How many coaches sitting here are looking for development rather than getting results? A big question for everybody. If that is not done, how are we going to change the football in Goa? Because every one of us is only interested in winning and not to see the development of the child who's growing. Travel time, diet, nutrition, nothing is being taken care of. So that is where I would try to say. A general question before we are running down on time, a general question for all the four panelists, which I will go with Derek and Shabir sir. Derek and Shabir sir. Looking ahead, what are the major challenges faced in coach education in Goa and the country?
See, in Goa it is good. Competitive football is there, league is there, even the grassroots and other. In most of the states, it is not there. Sorry to say, in my states, it is not there also, not regular. So it will be very difficult for the coaches to implement, as the Derek just now said, competitive football, then he can learn what is the minus, what is the plus point and all, and how to correct it. If there is no competitive football, if there is no league, then it will be very difficult. And if the league is there, if it is not more number of matches, then also a problem. Problem for the coach as well as the player also. After playing for some time, throughout the year, they are not doing. So what I have seen now in my time in Goa, it was not that much after this licensing and all other thing. And now the government is also taking interest. It will definitely help if the competitive football is there.
Derek, on the same major challenges faced of coach education in Goa?
I think one of the things is that we, like the sports minister has said, there is infrastructure, but access to the stadiums or grounds is limited, I feel. Recently, I met one of the PE teachers from Margao, and I asked him, where do you train? And he was like, I take my balls and I take this thing on the bike and I go all around to see open spaces to train my boys. So this is one of the difficulties we face, I feel. We need to open up the grounds for or help schools and clubs to provide them with the training facilities.
Thank you, Derek. We will sit together tomorrow and put in some points where we can share it with GFDC and GFA. Coming to Pradyum and Mariano, what are the major challenges coaches face to realize after their education, the impact, their effectiveness, how after coach education, and the development of players?
What I have seen, Savio, is the major problem faced by the coaches. They do everything in the course. What the coach educators tries to tell them, they try to design their training session with the help of the other colleagues in the courses. But when it comes to their individual planning of training session, they fumble. Because I think they take football is an individual game rather than it's a team game, and they design training session to improve individual football players away from the game. It should be rather improving players to play in the team contest. That means they have to play along with the other team and they have to get better to play with the team. That means to play with other 10 players in the team. That is the problem faced by the coaches in Goa and in other places in India as well. They take football as an individual game and then they train individuals. So this is what I have seen.
Thank you, Mariano. Over to Pradyum. Would you like to add something what Mariano has said on the question?
Yeah, I think a lot of the coaches view licenses as almost just as a simple pathway. They do their D, so a few years later they can do the C, and then the B, and then the A. They're not looking at how they develop as coaches, and I think one of the reasons is in between the licenses, we don't offer enough. So somebody who's done his D license, how does he become proficient or capable of doing his C in a few years' time? I think this is where maybe us as senior coaches in the state, because I can speak for myself. I know I'm sure Derek a similar thing, Mariana a similar thing, and you had the same now at Sporting Go. How many young coaches come to watch your sessions? So there are coaches who are working in the state every day at high level, but the young coaches who have just done their license, no one's coming to watch, ask questions, be inquisitive, and try and better themselves as coaches. Maybe because of technology, maybe because you can go online and find a session plan, which we couldn't do in our days, so you used to go and watch other coaches, ask questions, and copy, beg, borrow, and steal. I think if coaches aren't doing that, maybe as an organization, as GFDC, we somehow mandated, and what I mean is organize refresher courses, organize outdoor sessions where coaches can come and watch other coaches doing sessions like an all-day or two-day event where it's a coaching convention of sorts. And the problem with that always is, the question young coaches always ask, I'm sure a lot of the GFTC coaches will say this, is do I get a certificate for attending this? So we're in that culture where unless you get something, you don't get it, whereas you're actually gaining a lot of knowledge. So whether we shift the change in the culture of the way people think, or we actually do as an organization say, you do get a certificate for attending this, and this is your continuous education. and give points for like CPD learning.
Completely buy your point. I completely buy your point, Pradyum, because I also see some of the coaches who are free all the time, but they think they finish their coaching and my day is done. I don't want to go and see other coaches how they are doing, ask them questions. I completely buy your point. Thank you very much for the 4 panelists. Before we go, the floor is open for the audience, and you can, the one microphone is there behind. You can ask any question to our 4 panelists which are there, because we have got another 12 minutes or so to finish off our session on coaching pre and post license period. Anyone from the audience, please go ahead.
Good evening, audience, and good evening, the panel. Morning, I'm sorry, this little time. My name is Anup. Sir, there was a point that you mentioned about youth coaches focusing on results rather than development. From the administrative side, my question is, how do we judge the youth coach in terms of retaining the coach or assessing his performance? Because most administrators may not be attending every youth game at an under 13, under 15 level to actually understand and look from their own eyes whether a particular coach is essentially working on development or not. And the second part is, what can a youth coach do to better market himself or herself to the administration to relay that he or she is focusing on development rather than results?
Is it for me or for the panelists?
Open to any of the panels and of
It has
course
to be
yourself
clear.
as well,
No,
sir.
it has to be clear, for me or the panelists?
The panel.
I can answer that, Anup.
Yeah.
First of all, as you mentioned about how we are going to assess the youth coach, when we have an administration team, there has to be a technical team who understands football. We have too many of people in the administration who don't know football, and they try to teach the coach what they have to do when they themselves don't know anything. That is one reason what I would say. The second question is, when the coach is selected, who is going to watch his practice sessions, whether it is development or whether it is performance-based? And I would add to it, where clubs are getting players from Margaon to Panjim for a practice session of 1.5 hours, where the particular boy spends 3 hours in traveling. Is that development? How we are going to take care of it? And is the administration talking to the coach and to the technical team, why are we doing this? Boys are transported like anything. For 1.5 hour practice, they travel about 3 hours of practice. The second point is, when a boy is played and he has got a better opportunity for another club, is the club ready to release him for a better opportunity? That is another question. So there are so many things, Anup, what we have to look for, but having a technical team who has really played the game and who understands the game, maybe the coach is working a simple example on 1-2 in the practice sessions. And that happens in the game. That is the happiness of a coach. Maybe you will not win the game, but what you have done in the session, the boys are showing you. So that for me is development. When the boy transitions from one age group to another age group, that is what is for me as development. And that is what has to see as development. Any one of you would like to add? Is it okay, Anup?
I would like to say, I think that nobody will get hurt. The thing is that sometimes people without proper knowledge of the game trying to teach people who are having the knowledge of the game. And it applies same in administration as well as coaches. The coach who is conducting the training session and the administration, if he wants to see his development, he should go and see what he is doing in his training session rather than sitting there and dictating terms. And the coach, how he can market is the job. How he does his job is marketing itself for the coach. And that is how you look at the coach. Thank you.
Marketing, I tried to forget about because there is so much of social media nowadays which a particular coach tries to put out. For me, social media is my work. If I do good, these boys go and talk to their parents. When they play the game, you can easily understand what the coach work has been done. And that is what I followed when I was in coach education for about 8 to 10 years. No social media posts. My social media were my student coaches, where they know what has been taught and how they have to go ahead. Thank you very much. Next question, anyone, please? Yes, Marcus. Can we get the microphone, Lovejoy?
Sabihai, just a general question. Do we have enough coaches in Goa? And if we have enough coaches, do they have enough jobs?
If you see, Marcus, I would say we don't have enough coaches. And when it comes to jobs, that was a question which was asked to me once when I was in EIFF in the EXCO committee meeting. Why do we do licenses? Then my first answer to them, why do we have so many engineering colleges? Why do we need so many doctors? Sorry? No, I was coming to that because if you see, it's not as started in Goa, but in Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, the coaches have their own academies. They try to survive and try to take their daily sustenance or the monthly sustenance through their education what they have got. Are our coaches ready for that? Are our coaches going out and trying to do that? So that is where I would say less coaches. But when there are coaches who doesn't have a job, who is trying to look after them, for them to make better? There are no refresher courses being done. There is no mentoring to be done for the coaches. So how are they going to get better? Some of the coaches, they don't have jobs and they are totally sidelined. Nobody is looking at them. So those coaches for me are more important to be touched upon, to be coached upon, and to be mentored. But I can agree that we have less coaches. But if our coaches, whoever are trying to do licenses, if they can do something on their own, which happens in Bangalore, Bombay, Delhi, which is rampant. So I would go along with that.
Anyone?
Good morning, Sabi.
Good morning.
I had a question about coaching at a younger level. So at a high school level, so we've all went to, most of us have been to school here. We found that our coaching staff was maybe, they were not very educated in teaching the kids how to play. So is there a way of creating a system where the coaches of schools are taught the basics to coach? So that if they have the caliber and the team is good and they produce good players, then they can actually think that, oh, this can be a career for me. So how can I take this forward and become a senior coach or a more professional coach?
Thank you, Vikram. Before anyone, I will say a few words. There is a D certificate which is starting, which is very, very basic to cater to the needs of the youngsters. But if you hear one point which Pradyum had mentioned, we have to specialize licenses for particular age groups, 5 to 7, 8 to 10, so that would help us. But when you have a D certificate course, and what has happened now, as Derek was just saying, that he did his license only after retiring. But that is not the way it is supposed to be done. You have to do your licenses when you're playing. Now when it comes to coaching the youngsters, if you have a D license, so many of them were attending. And for me, if you cannot demonstrate a particular pass, a receive, or running with the ball, then the child is suffering under who he is getting coaching from. So there are courses, but as Pradyum has said, we have to have specialized more. But most of them, they come and attend. And at that level, if you cannot demonstrate, how a child is going to get better? So that is what I think is fundamental for us. When we have coaches, they have to demonstrate, where the kids try to take it upon themselves. If my coach can do it, then I have to do it. So I think that is what is lacking for me at the moment. Pradyum, you like to add anything for that?
Yeah, I think Derek and I were discussing this before, similar to your point. I think the problem sometimes in schools is the person in charge isn't just catering for football. They have to coach basketball, volleyball, etc. So they're not a specialist in it. The ones who are can obviously attend a D license and etc. and move themselves up, and a few of them do. I think where we can help in that is maybe we should organize a D license or a C license course for PE teachers in the time when it's school holidays, whereby they can do it, because otherwise courses are conducted when they don't get time off to do these. And maybe that should be subsidized because it is a cost, and maybe they choose not to afford it because the ones who spend this are obviously recouping it from their club or other places. So maybe there's a way that we can help with that in terms of it, because yeah, I 100% agree with you. The schools that have very good footballing programs, if they were to have a qualified coach, some of them can obviously hire from outside, but the ones that can't, it would definitely help those players because then it minimizes the travel time for those kids. They're in the school, the ground is there, etc. So it's a very valid point. I think Derek also had something.
I think it's a valid point because PE teachers are the ones who deal with the kids who are learning. On my way here, I got a call from my friend who worked for SAG, and he said, Derek, I know you're busy today, but please address this issue of training the PE teachers, because the PE teachers just give one ball to the kids and they ask them to play. So it's very important that we train the PE teachers, or have something in the system to train them, or we need to find a way.
Yes, a microphone there behind. Sorry, yes, sir.
Pradyumna, my question is to you, because you have raised a very sensitive issue, that is language. I think language is the barrier for at least I'm talking about my Goan footballers or the young minds. But apart from this, as you shared your experience while coaching the young minds, techniques is more important. Level of confidence, what you are developing on the play field, is going to give a more weightage. Techniques and the level of confidence.
For the players?
Yeah.
Definitely. I think if the players are given proper training and they have good technique, they'll automatically have more confidence, they'll express themselves on the field, and they'll go on to play at a higher level. And I think that's the responsibility of the coaches, to impart technique at a young age, because it becomes difficult to do it later. So at the youngest age, if we can focus on technique development, and that'll give the players confidence, and then they can go and showcase their skills.
Can I add to that? Yeah. It is a duty of the coach. If suppose the player is not doing, then his duty is to just give him confidence, just encourage him. Then only he will come up. That is the main thing, I think.
Yeah, because most of the time what we have observed is that, because football is just such a game that even a last second we can get the victory or we can lose the game. But during my experience in these 2 years of time when I shouldered the responsibility of the sports minister, because I have witnessed lot many games at the national level, and I have been the witness my own Goa team. When they face a goal in the first half, the moral of the confidence has been lowered down. And what I've observed is that the confidence level never shoot up. So in order to avoid all these circumstances and to come out with the same face as when they have entered into the ground, so what is your experience, or what we need to give or impart a training to the young footballers in this case?
Sir, can I answer your question?
Yeah, please.
So there are two things. When we talk about technique in general, and we talk about football technique in particular. So we normally use football technique when we play the game. That is, there are certain things we should talk. Players communicate with the teammates. Based on the communication, they decide what to do, and then they execute the decision. So here, communication, decision, and execution come last. That we call football technique. And that execution is based on communication and deciding where to pass, where to shoot, how to score, how to shoot, based on that particular situation in the game itself. So when we train players, we don't train on individual training, but we create situations for the players to experience what is going to come or what can come in the games when they play. Thank you.
Derek, sir.
I'll add to this.
Yeah.
When we say development, when do we start it? In Goa and even in India, we start at a very late stage, that is under 13 and under 15. But if we need to start very early, and if you have a structure, maybe the parents could be the first teachers, then the grassroots coaches, then the youth coaches, and then the first team coaches. So it takes time. So if you start early, the player, by the time he reaches 16, 18, his mind and his muscles will be all trained to make decisions on the ground. And now to the modern football, I mean the top level football, there is very less time and less space to make your decisions. So we have to train those players to play at that level. So if we need to start very early.
Thank you.
Sorry, we are running out of time. We will try to have this session one more next time, next year. But before we finish, I would like to thank our panelists for their insights, which we couldn't get more because we ran short of time. And to the audience for engaging with us today. Let's continue to support and develop coach education and coaching for us, for Goa, to bring back the glory days which we are here for these 2 days back into football. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Savio, for a very interactive session. I also thank the panelists for their valuable inputs. I also did have questions, but because of time, we could not continue with the session. The second topic of the summit is on professional clubs, changes in the football landscape, problems faced, threats, and expectations. The moderator is Shri Marcos Mergulhão, Sports Editor, Times of India. The panelists are Shri Srinivas Dempo, Chairman Dempo Group of Companies. Dr. Sagar Salgaonkar, Director, Geno Sports Club. Shri Vikram Salgaonkar of CD Salgaonkar. And Ravi Pushkar, of CEO of FC Goa. Check. No. Check. Check. Little. Check. Check. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We shall now start with the second topic of the summit, professional clubs. Changes in the football landscape, problems faced, threats, and expectations. Our panelists, our moderator is Shri Marcos Mergulhão, Sports Editor, Times of India. The panelists are Shri Srinivas Dempo, Chairman, Dempo Group of Companies. Dr. Sagar Salgaonkar, Director, Geno Sports Club. Shri Vikram Salgaonkar of CD Salgaonkar. And Ravi Pushkar, CEO, FC Goa. Marcos Mergulhão.
Can I request everyone to please take their seats? Can I request the panelists to take up their seats? Sir Srinivas Tempo, Dr. Sagar Salgonkar, Vikram Salgonkar, and Ravi Puskor. Good morning, everyone. I'm indeed very, very honored to have been asked to moderate this session on professional clubs, changes in the football landscape, problems faced, threats, and expectations. Since becoming a sports journalist about 25 years ago, I've been fortunate to cover Goan football very, very closely. I think in the last 25 years, I must have watched almost every game, every high profile or a top tier game at Fatorda. And I've seen a huge change right from the days of the National Football League, the semi-professional league, then the I-League, and finally the Indian Super League, which is supposed to be the most professional one. I remember in the good old days when I just started my career, after the end of the match, I used to travel in the Dempo team bus from Fatorda to Panjim. And then from Panjim, one of the players used to drop me to the office. In between, we will stop somewhere in a roadside stall, eat some Chinese fried food, and then I will go back to the office. Now, things have changed so much that forget about traveling in the team bus. You cannot even get anywhere close to the bus. So things have changed. Things have changed drastically. Whether it is for the good of football, we have to debate. That is why we have all gathered here. In the good old days, I had a lot of friends who were footballers, particularly from Dempo Sports Club, because a lot of them were national team players. So we used to meet on a regular basis. We used to chat on a regular basis. We used to have phone conversations. Now it's very, very difficult to get in touch with players. Forget about being friends because the stakes are much, much higher. Because of match fixing, match manipulations, match fixing accusations, not many players try and be in regular touch with you. You have to go through an agent. You have to go through their representatives, their coach, their officials, or maybe the club media officer. We are today discussing changes in the football landscape. Football has changed quite a lot. If in 2004, 2005, we had 6 teams in the National Football League, which was the top tier at that time. Out of the 6 teams, there were 4 teams in the top 6. I remember Dempo became champion for the first time that year. Sporting Club finished second. But now we have only 1 team in the top tier, which is the FC Goa in the Indian Super League. Until last year, there was only 1 team in the I-League, which is Churchill Brothers. Now we have Dempo making a comeback into the top tier. With so much of rich history for Goan football, it is time for us to find out whether we can get back to the glory days and what it will take for us to revive Goan football. To discuss this, we have a very, very eminent panel, and I'm really honored to be moderating this session. First of all, Chairman of Dempo Group of Companies and President of Dempo Sports Club, Sir Srinivas Dempo. He needs no introduction. A well-known name in Indian football. So Srinivas Dempo has seen days when his team was considered the best in the country. They won a record 5 National League titles. Dempo became the first team to make it to the semi-finals of the AFC Cup, which was the second-tier Asian football competition. There was a time when Dempo was so good that even Bollywood star Shah Rukh Khan wanted to be associated with the team. Those were the days. That was the standard of Goan football. Next, we have Dr. Sagar Salgonkar. Welcome, Sir Dempo. Next, we have Dr. Sagar Salgonkar, Managing Director of Gino Pharmaceuticals and Director of Gino Sports Club. Gino actually has a very long association with sports. I don't know if people remember this. Not many know that. But Gino was the first company that started sponsoring sports awards. So the Gino Sports Awards, which were given by the Sports Journalists Association of Goa, was very, very popular, where the best sports persons were honored on an annual basis. Gino also has a cricket team, and now they've got into professional football. I am pleased to have Dr. Sagar Salgonkar here. There's Vikram Salgonkar here as well. he is the director of the newly found Club de Salgaonkar. The club may have been new, but Vikram Salgaonkar is not new to football. Since his younger days, he's seen Salgaonkar winning trophies. He's been associated with the team. He was in the forefront when FC Goa was launched in the Indian Super League in 2014. It was not uncommon to see Vikram attending football training of FC Goa at Tilak Maidan. I used to see him regularly there. And now he plans to do the same with Club de Salgaonkar. Welcome, Vikram. And my good friend Ravi Puskur, he's been in Goa since 2015, starting with the media team first, then becoming the sporting director, and now the CEO of FC Goa. FC Goa has now become a very, very big brand, a very, very popular brand, not just in Goa, but across the country as well. For the way the club was run, for the way it started off initially with 2015 being an all-time high. I don't remember any other year in my career where people paid 5 times the price for a ticket. I remember a 500 rupee ticket was being sold for 2,500 for the final, and people are willing to pay anything. That actually was a real high. Welcome, Ravi. I'll start with Sir Srinivas Tempur. So how do you look at the current football landscape in Goa? Like I said earlier, we had at one stage 6 teams in the top tier, whether for good or bad reasons. Now that Dempo are back into the I-League, can we have Dempo achieving the same standard of excellence that you had, say, at your peak in 2012 when you last won the league title? And I remember the team spent around 13 crores only on the team. So if a company can spend 13 crores, say about 12 years ago or 10 years ago, do you think a similar investment can revive Dempo? And will that be the right strategy, to just pump in money and win trophies?
Thank you, Marcos. First of all, let me thank the Gfdc, the government of Goa, and the GFA for organizing such a brainstorming session. I really enjoyed all the coaches' sessions. I know all the coaches personally, their contribution to football, and it was really value-added and education for me to sit and hear them. Also, I would like to thank my friend Albert and my friend Marcus for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be with all of you this morning. And I'll try and answer Marcus's question about I think there is a lot to be desired for performance. We can see whether it's Santosh Trophy, whether it's our performance for all the national tournaments, whether it is crowds coming in for local games. I remember, the derby between Dempo and Salgaonkar was actually, there was no place to stand, forget about sitting. And why do we not have those crowds today? So obviously we need to introspect where Goan football is going. And as a little gesture from our side, when we took the very bold decision to opt out of the I-League, we said that one of the biggest things that we need to do is improve performance. And we need to give access to more kids to play football, to be good in them, and said that we need a professional setup. So we took a very courageous decision of setting up a football academy at a very, very, the investment, I can be public about it. We've close to spend about 25 crores now on the football academy. We have 2 grounds, 1 artificial turf, 1 natural turf. Pradyum has again proposed another natural turf. So we are going to have 3 grounds in one place. Plus we have the 5-a-side, 7-a-side kind of a smaller facility. We have an in-house academy. So why I'm trying to tell you all this is professional club football contribution is very, very important. And I was just talking to Shabir Ali, and he says, unless professional footballs come into Goa on a bigger scale, it'll be, we just can't blame the government. The government has created infrastructure. I think somewhere down the line, what Savio said is, we need those grounds to be used. And can we have a proper viable program between the government and private clubs to use those grounds very professionally? Because government creates infrastructure, but somebody has to maintain it, and it has to make economic sense. So the performance as a whole, the regulatory body, which is the GFA,
the higher regulatory body, which is the AIFF. Again, their calendars don't match. It creates problems. So I think we need to evaluate the whole ecosystem and the climate to just see that, we focus on grassroots development, we focus on great coaching, and that's how we get Goa back on the stream. Coming to our club, as I said, we took a very, very bold decision of opting out along with Salgaonkar and Sporting. And I'm very, very happy to say that, the efforts that we made to come up. And as you rightly said, just to correct, when we left in 2012, we used to spend 15 crores. So I thought that, even charity has to be sustainable. And at one point in time, I remember you took my interview and, you wrote that in bold, that I said one has to be foolishly passionate to run a football club like this, where you don't earn anything and you keep on spending so much money. And the same experience was when we ran FC Goa, Vikram and myself and his father Dattaraj ran FC Goa. We also found that, you have to have deep pockets to keep on investing money into football. We don't mind it from Dempos, but at the end of the day, we have to see development of football in the state and in the country. But it's a good start. We've made it back into I-League. Thanks to our coaching staff, thanks to our players, thanks to the professional setup that we have in the academy. And mind you, we have almost 5 to 6 boys from our football academy who will be playing in the I-League. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I'll move on to Dr. Sagar next. Gino has a long association with sports, but football, particularly professional football, is a recent addition. Gino has a long association with sports, like I said before, but football is a new addition, a very, very recent one, particularly professional football. You were playing in the first division earlier. At a time when a lot of companies are not willing to invest into football, what made Gino take up a direct entry in the Goa Pro League? What made Gino take up a direct entry in the Goa Pro League at a time when most of the companies don't want to invest into football simply because there are no returns? And like Mr. Dempo said, you have to be foolishly passionate to be investing in football.
Yeah, so see at the outset, I would like to thank GFDC, GFA for having organized this session and inviting me here. Thank you so much for that. As you said, Gino has got a long association with sports. Gino Sports Club was founded by my father, Mr. Dilip Salgaonkar, almost 35 years back. We've been in various sporting activities, be it cricket, primarily cricket, but we've also been having our own, as we mentioned, the Gino Sports Award in association with the Journalist Association of Goa. And for all these years, we've made a conscious effort to recognize good performances in sports in our own way, encourage sports in Goa, encourage sports persons in Goa. And to a large extent, we've been relatively successful when it comes to the sport of cricket, where we've got the Gino Sports Club participating in the premier division of GCA, along with, of course, clubs like Dempo Sports Club and the others. For us, sports is a way of life. Whether it is in Goa, whether it is in Gino, whether it is in our corporate culture also, we love sports. And for us, football is a part of Goan culture. It has always been, as a kid, when I was watching football during, as you mentioned, the glory days of Goan football, Dempo Sports Club, Salgaonkar Sports Club, Goan football team as such competing at the top levels and performing so well. We've had football heroes. We've admired, as children, we've admired football heroes from all these clubs, and as well as Goan football team as well. So it was but natural for us to consider at some point in time during our sporting history that we have to be present in the sport of football as far as Gino is concerned. If I were to take it into your question in two aspects, why first of all, why we are in the sport of football, and secondly, possibly where the sport itself, running of a sports club is not profitable, why did we take it up? As far as the first part of the question is concerned, for us it's just a question of giving one more sports club to the fans of football in Goa, where they can rally behind a sports club, they can enjoy football. We try to give the best quality of football, at the same time promoting a sense of discipline, a sense of good behavior on and off the field, and promoting all the virtues that football stands for. So that is where we wish that our Gino Football Club stands for those particular virtues, and we promote that and we showcase the talent in Goan sports persons. As far as where the profitability is concerned, we are new entrants to the club, to the entire scene. We are not looking. We know that when we start investing in football, it is going to be just an expense account. But going ahead, we hope that there will be different avenues wherein the different clubs are given some kind of opportunities wherein they are able to financially be sustainable. That's very important going ahead, where maybe perhaps a partnership between GFA with the state government, different avenues are looked at regarding maybe sponsorships, regarding maybe increasing the prize monies, maybe having sponsorships coming in for the the different pro leagues and the different leagues. They would encourage more and more clubs to come and join the football scene in Goa, and thereby give more scope and more talent, more opportunities for talented footballers in Goa to perform, possibly at the highest level, and where we aspire to be at some point in time. So with the grand success of the ISL, that's the ultimate aim for us, wherein we are looking at qualifying from the Pro League to the I League and then further on to the ISL. That's the ultimate aim. So during that journey, we hope that we give a lot of opportunity to local talent, for them to showcase their skills, and that's the ultimate aim of Juno Sports Club being in the football scene.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Vikram, I'll come to you next. You have a long association with particularly football. First and foremost, besides being the owner, you are a fan of football. You love football. What prompted Salgaonkars to start Club de Salgaonkar? And where do you want to take this club? How far do you want to take this club? And what's the idea behind starting in the Goa Pro League?
Thanks for the question, Marcus, and thank you so much for inviting me here, and thanks to the GFA for the opportunity to be part of football again. As you clearly pointed out, the biggest love in my life probably is football. So for us to be back in this regime and be part of football again, I think the primary objective for the club as a vision, we want to really be in a position where we can give back to the community. And I feel that, business aside, there's a way of doing something in the state of Goa where we can provide opportunity to the youth to, be a professional athlete. And I think that is something that I think other people on this panel would agree also, that that is something that can never be replaced. In a day of, social media dominating so many avenues of life, sports is the one thing that is basic coaching to the coaching of the schools. So you're giving some access to the schools to have their PE teachers have a better knowledge of football so they could educate their kids, so that they can grow up with some idea of what the needs are and how to improve as athletes. So that was, I think, an important part of it. Thanks.
Thank you, Vikram. Let's come to next. FC Goa is now the only team in the top tier of Indian football, which is the Indian Super League. For the last 3-4 years, we have a clear division about the league system. We have the top tier ISL, then the I-League, then the I-League 2 and I-League 3. What has been your, because you have been associated with FC Goa since 2015 and now you are the CEO and FC Goa is the only top tier team, what has been your experiences of running FC Goa? And do you get questioned, because we all know that none of the top tier teams or none of the teams in the ISL make money. In fact, if I'm not wrong, you need to spend approximately 25 crores every year. You lose that kind of money every year. What keeps FC Goa going? And do you think it is sustainable to keep on spending such amounts of money? What are the challenges of running a top tier team?
Thanks, Marcus. Good morning, everyone. I'll try and break down my answer in sort of, by bits and pieces as you've asked the question. One, the big changes that I've noticed in the Goan landscape is that obviously football is not as prevalent as it was back in 2015 when I first came to the state. Gradually, clubs and sort of their interest in the sport has declined, but I think in general in society as well, sport has declined, particularly football. And I think a lot of that has to do with those devices that a lot of us have in our hands right now. I think there's a lot of attention span there's a deficit in attention span. Therefore, kids at a younger age group and a younger age level are no longer as interested in taking part in physical activity as they were historically were. So I think it's up to a lot of us here to create that opportunities for kids to feel attached to the sport once again. I think the other one big thing that we need to sort of identify is that the reason why sport in Goa is declining is because there's not enough aspiration now to play at the highest level. Yes, it's true that there's one team that's playing in the ISL. The good news is now is that there's 2 clubs in the I-League. I have some very kind and generous gentlemen sitting on my right-hand side here who've been putting some money into football again to try and revive the sport once again, because now that creates aspiration and opportunity for a lot more kids, right? Because every team only can have a finite number of players. The moment that base of players and the ability to play and compete at the higher level increases, then that aspiration increases, right? So I think it's welcome news that Vikram has got his team going once again. Mr. Dempo's got Dempo Sports Club back in the I-League, because then this creates aspiration for Goan footballers. I think that's been sorely missing for the last couple of years. As Mr. Dempo mentioned, when it comes to the sustainability, or rather as you mentioned, I think you mentioned 13 or 15 crores, right? Sorry, 25. No, you mentioned 13 or 15 crores, what it took to win the I-League then. The price of success is around 50, 55 crores if you want to think, right? So, I mean, as Mr. Dempo very sort of aptly pointed out, either you have to be a very deep-pocketed person or a very foolish person to believe that football might be a profitable venture. So I think everybody who's invested in football is doing it for the passion of the sport, or rather to make an impact in the society, right? And I think for us, the big challenge, at least the big challenge that I see that FC Goa has to take upon itself is to try and retain its relevance in Goan football and Indian football, right? And for that to happen, I don't think we can do it alone. We need the support of everybody sitting in this room to be able to achieve that. And I'll give you a quick example why. As Mr. Dempo mentioned, there was a derby between Dempo and Salgaonkar. There was not even space for a human being to stand and watch the game. The reason why Calcutta football is so big is not because of one individual entity called Mohun Bagan or East Bengal or Mohammedan. It's because they're all three in existence together and competing at the highest level. So when you create competition at the highest level and you create that opportunity for football to seep into society where it is beyond just a sport and it's a way of lifestyle, that's when I think you begin to have an impact, right? So for us, that is what we want to try and achieve in the next couple of years, where people believe that it is a ritual to go and watch either your local village team or your local club that you support, or whether it be the club, whether it plays in the I-League or the ISL. When they start to believe that, for me, it's a weekend ritual or a weekday ritual to go and do that once in a week because it's an opportunity for me to engage with the rest of my society and with the people who are thinking like me, that's when we know that we've done something good in the society.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ravi. I'll come back to Sir Dempo again. Dempo has been in existence since 1967. It's been almost 57 years that a club has been formed. But do you believe that, like Ravi mentioned, how Mohan Bagan, East Bengal, and Mohammedan regularly, they have a strong cultural connect with the community, and that is why they keep getting fans. We have seen so many times, especially in the last couple of years, whenever Dempo played, there were not enough people to support the club. Do you feel somehow it is the responsibility of the club themselves to build a stronger connect with the community so that whenever they are playing, they get the fans as well? I'm asking this because a lot of it has to do with revenue as well. You get more people, you get more visibility. You get more visibility, you get more sponsors. If you get more sponsors, you cut down on your losses. Do you think Dempo has done enough as far as building a stronger connect with the community? I know you've done well on the field because you won a record 5 titles. But what about a connect with the community? Do you think that is lacking?
No, I think you've hit the right point. We need to do much more for community connect, for fan base support. But since Ravi mentioned about Calcutta and you mentioned about Calcutta, my personal opinion, and anyone's free to correct me, Calcutta people are far more passionate. Not that Mohan Bagan and East Bengal do much for fan support building, but culturally they are just like that. You go for a cricket game, you go for a football game. I remember, once the referee gave a decision in favor of Dempos. We were playing East Bengal in semi-finals. It was, I don't remember whether it was I-League or Federation Cup. And there were Calcutta Football Association people telling me, it's better you leave the stadium, they'll beat you up. Because we were winning the match. And I was put in a jeep and I was escorted out of, Salt Lake Stadium. So that's the kind of passion. And here 3 teams withdraw from the I-League. Not a single fan came to us and say why you are doing it. And I checked with Shivanan, I checked with Peter. I expected people to come near our offices and demonstrate and say, you can't close the club. So I think the onus is on both. I think the people generally, I don't know, and one of the things that I had proposed to you long time back is, instead of saying Dempo and Salgaonkar, should we say Vasco, Mapsa, Panjim? I don't know whether people will identify yourself more. But to answer your question, we aren't doing enough. But I don't know the answer is, if we do enough, whether the fan following will be very strong. I have no definite view on this, that's why.
Yeah, Vikram, I'll come back to you because you made one very, very interesting point. You said in the age of social media, sports is the only real thing. But you cannot deny that social media right now runs our lives. I actually speak as a journalist because I see print readership going down. Everybody gets news at the instant. Do you think clubs should also maybe try and explore this social media phenomenon and maybe do something more?
No, my meaning was that in terms of a reality. So most of the social media that is popular is something that is fabricated, right? So it is someone's put on an act or using AI, they'll create something. What I meant about football, it is football. I cannot juggle a ball using AI. I cannot take a bicycle kick using AI, right? So the point is, yes, social media can be a tool to propagate the media. So definitely, it is definitely a strong thing to do. And if you see globally, most of the clubs, their social medias are very strong. But what I meant is that what they do is real, right? I cannot make the player do a skill that he cannot do. Or if he scores a goal, then everyone can see it. So yes, it can be used as a tool to definitely increase the popularity. And I think that's something that can be done. If you remember, years ago, you couldn't even watch a game live. Now, because of streaming, we can watch YouTube via YouTube. At least people can watch the game. So yes, definitely some social media presence can help in that. So my meaning was more to take something that's real, and but the way of distributing it via social media is definitely a viable option. And I think that's something that should actually be done, because it would help a lot of the clubs get popularity. And of course, since we all like football, the number of viewers on YouTube actually has a cash generation mechanism. So if you reach a certain number of viewers, it actually can generate some revenue for the league. So if maybe the coverage could be done a little bit better, it could help a lot. So.
Ravi, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to sort of what Vikram and Mr. Dempo have sort of highlighted, and your question on social media. I think social media is an opportunity, but I think real football happens on the field and in the grounds. So, for example, just to give you an example, FC Goa has close to 500,000 followers, right? But we're struggling to fill up a 15,000 capacity stadium, right? So it does not always mean that social media interaction translates into actual attendances, right? And I think that goes back to Mr. Dempo's point. So yes, fans can give a like, fans can send, emoticons and emojis and everything, but ultimately real support is when you show up at the stadium and tell the people who are putting money into the sport that, look, we understand the efforts you're making, and this is our way of showing our backing to the football club or the entity that is doing it.
Ravi, you also spoke about aspirations. You said, right now youngsters don't have enough aspirations to go higher or move higher, because there are so many other avenues available to them. But as a club, particularly a club that has focused on youth development, do you believe the club is doing enough to grow their own players, to build their own heroes? Right now, if you look at the team, you don't seem to have any local hero.
No, you're right. I mean, I don't think any club or any entity that is involved in the business of developing players can ever do enough. I think there's always scope to improve and do more and more. There's always scope for learning and improving. And in terms of do players have the aspiration, I think what is lost in terms of understanding, at least at the grassroots level and the local level, and particularly I think a lot to do with the parents, is that football is actually now a very well-paying job. I mean, football players in the country, I'm talking about Indian players, not the foreign players, are now paid a lot more. I think some of the football players that I know of are paid more than most of us in this room, right? So it's a very well-paying job. It's just that whether people have the effort and the dedication to last that distance, because it takes 8 to 9 years. You can't become a footballer overnight. It takes a lot of hard work. But once you get there, the rewards are significant. I don't think a lot of people realize that. We had a young player in our academy, a player that was scouted and identified at the time when Mr. Dempo and Vikram were running the club. This was in 2014. That boy went through the entire age group, and he was identified as an 8-year-old boy. I remember when I met him for the first time, because he broke his phone that day, which was his mother's phone. I remember him distinctly because of that. I knew him from then. He made it all the way up until the under-20 team, and last season he was promoted to the first team. But the moment he got to the first team, he felt like he'd already made it big. Then I found him more in when I went out with my friends at nightclubs and bars rather than on the training ground. And the player now no longer plays football, right? So this is a player that an entity has invested best part of 8 to 9 years in developing his talent, has given him the best of resources, opportunity, and the platform, but the player has not taken that opportunity up. I think that hunger and desire is missing, as Mr. Dempo said, in Goa, in the players here to really make it big, because if you take the same context and place it, say, in the northeastern part of the country where life is not so easy, you'll realize that those players will work harder to do it.
Thanks a lot, Ravi. Sure, sir.
You know what Ravi mentioned about hunger and desire. I'll just give you an example of the Manipuri boys and the Goan boys. The Manipuri boys put 3x of the effort at 1/3 the cost. And you know, when you play competitive football, you are always in the business of managing the costs of the club. So how do we balance this? You know, one thing is all of us in this room want to promote Goan players, want Goan boys to prosper, want Goan football to come up. But what do we do to create that intense desire among Goan boys? Saying that, you know, the first thing they do is, as he says, when we reach the I-League, the first thing the Goan players came and said, I want a salary increase. And then when Samir and I sat down and Pradyum sat down, we were given figures where Manipuri boys who were playing two times better than them were coming at half the cost. So how do I balance my desire to promote Goa and to get performance out of those boys to make it to the top of the I-League? So this is a question, I mean, I don't expect answers, but this is something that we need to introspect.
Yeah, thanks very much, sir. Something that we can think about. Dr. Sagar, you actually spoke about making a club sustainable. You spoke about revenue sharing as well, which I think is a very good idea, because clubs across the world, they survive on TV revenue and the central revenue shares as well. Here we get hardly anything. There's absolutely nothing. Sometimes clubs may have to invest themselves and make their own investment to ensure that the matches reach the masses. What do you think the GFA can do better, or maybe the government through the Department of Sports or the Sports Authority of Goa can do better to not just make football sustainable, but also make it a much more better product?
Uh, I mean, that's a huge conundrum, you know. It's a puzzle that is very difficult to answer in absolute black and white or to give absolute solution. Okay, this is the way, this is the way. I think one thought or one idea that has come across this panel discussion, you know, over the last maybe 10 to 15 minutes, uh, we need, primarily, we need to get the fans involved in the clubs. The basis of any success of any club or any league is the involvement of the fans in the club or the league. Uh, why the Goan youth is not going to the stadiums or grounds to watch the matches? We are a absolutely new entrant, but I kid you not, I think we've spent whatever the time we've spent in the in the league, a major amount of time between me and my team is basically the discussion of how to get that Goan youth on the ground to watch our matches. And once, a youth would prefer, or a young guy in Goa would prefer to spend 3 hours watching a absolute crappy movie at Inox or eating absolutely unsavory food in a restaurant, which he will go back home and he will criticize it like anything on social media. But those 90 minutes to 2 hours, he or she will not be on the ground to watch a match. You know, until that happens, and that's something which I think we need to break our heads together with the clubs, with the GFAs, with GFA and Gfdc, to work out that. Moment that happens, you know, as a club, we've done our best in the sense now we've even made, recently we made the entry to all matches free, you know. So we just hope that at least that would encourage. I'm not saying that a person would be cribbing to pay, say, 50 rupees or 75 rupees for a ticket. I'm not saying that, but we are trying that as an experiment. We're experimenting different options to get the fans on the ground. And I think moment we crack that, and we need to work out how to do that. Maybe one way is, you know, let me put it to the extreme. We should just ban live streaming on social media. And, you know, just don't, we should not, I mean, it may be just a thought, but don't let them watch a live match at home. Let them come on the stadium. Let them come to support the group, the club on the ground. Yes, in today's world, that might be a absolutely hypothetical situation, but why not? I mean, if that is going to get the fan on the club and out of that mobile phone and on the ground to watch the match, then maybe it is a possibility. So I think that's the thing we need to work on. Besides that, as a revenue stream, if as the interest of the local population, local youths increase in the leagues, in the clubs, then of course there would be avenues for sponsorships. There would be avenues of people investing in the clubs, and that would probably reduce the financial burden of the clubs and encourage more clubs to, you know, participate in the football scene. But I think everything starts with that one Goan youth who is spending time everywhere else but on the football ground.
Yeah, thanks very much for that. Before we take up audience questions, one.
I just wanted to add to that point. It would be absolutely fantastic if we had more fans in the stadiums. But I think there's a optimum time to show matches or have matches. So essentially having a match at 4, I have half my people in office asking, sir, can I go for the game? So, you know, and that is it's a tricky position because I can't explain to my father why this person is not in the office. So, you know, and I think that if you look globally, whether it's college basketball in America or any other sport, there's this optimum time to show a game. And I'm sure there's an issue maybe with the night game or floodlights. But weekend games are very crucial to market well because those are games, maybe you can even play 2 games on the same day. because then people are more free. And I think even with students, 4 o'clock is not a time they can actually attend a match. How are they going to come there? It's not feasible, right? Because they have tuitions, etc., etc. So the timing of the game has to be important if you want to increase the number of people that come for a game, I feel.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. You want to say something, yeah?
Can I just add to the points that they've mentioned as well? I mean, one, what Vikram said again, I think we've told and complained a lot about the problems at hand, but I think a few solutions. I think one Vikram has mentioned is about the timings of the games. Again, this is not a slight at any particular organization or this thing, but I think the buzzword has to be to make the sport accessible to all the stakeholders. So that's the fans, the players, and everybody. I think to make it accessible to the fans, the first thing we've got to do is identify whether we're giving them the best and the easiest and the most convenient way to experience that opportunity, right? So, an example, most of the Goa Pro League matches are held at the Dulaya Stadium, right? So if you are a fan of, say, Pax of Nagoa, and you're based in the village of Nagoa, you are asking that fan to travel the best part of 50 minutes, and if you catch traffic, then you'll probably spend a lot more. So you're asking him not to invest 1.5 hours or 2 hours of your daily time, you're asking him to invest 4 to 5 hours, right? Maybe that's simply not feasible, right? I know, because then that gives you an opportunity for streaming, etc. and everything, but as Mr. Salgaonkar said, why does every single match have to be streamed, right? Best case example is England, right? In England, from the 10 fixtures that happen in the Premier League, which is the highest level of football in the country, only 4 are allotted on a Friday, Saturday, or a Sunday, right? The other matches all kick off at 3 o'clock. And the best part is, all the 3 o'clock matches, are banned from being televised because it protects the audience that is actually going and experiencing the game, right? So why does every single match have to be, and this applies even at the very highest level as well, even at the ISL, why does every single match have to be televised? Reduce the number of matches, because ultimately you might wonder, okay, then it hits your revenue in terms of your media rights, etc. Well, guess what? The Premier League is the one with the biggest media rights in the world. I mean, they make billions of dollars doing that, and yet they don't show half the matches.
Yeah, thanks very much. Before we take the audience question, one quick question for all the panelists, a common one. We have gathered here because we believe that Goan football can be great again. Quickly, maybe very shortly, if you can say, where do you see Goan football in the next 5 to 10 years? And is there anything that we need to do on an immediate basis? One idea each, maybe.
I'm very optimistic, so that's why I'm in the game of football. So 10 to 15 years down the line, definitely I want to see packed stadiums. You know, it's great that groups like Geno and Salgaonkar have re-entered. Salgaonkar has re-entered football. Geno is just recently come in. So I think with corporate support, I see the standard of the game going up. We need to deliberate along with GFA and the government and the whole ecosystem as to how we make the whole football experience better. You know, when we are saying just change the timing of the game, and if you don't have entertainment around that, it doesn't sell. You know, so we need to discuss ways how to get the support base back. And I think if these two things are done, and with you know, proper coaching standards improved in Goa, I think the chance of Goan football coming back to its earlier glory is not ruled out.
Dr. Sagar.
You know, let me be absolutely honest in saying that Goan football was great, and Goan football definitely is great. We got great clubs like Dempo Sports Club, we've got Salgaonkars, we've got FC Goa representing it at the highest level. And see, if you, to be honest, if you compare the level, if you just look at Goan football in itself, the level of football, the skills of football, what were there before and now, definitely there has been an incremental rise in terms of talent, in terms of playing skills, in terms of opportunities to players, in terms of coachings. Definitely there's been an improvement. I think if you look at Goan football in context with how the other clubs have progressed during the same amount of time, I think probably there would be a lag there. And we need to address where that lag is. Possibly, if we look at clubs from other states, how they are performing in, probably they've got far better infrastructure, they got far better investments, they got far better fan interest, they got far better opportunities or partnerships with state governments maybe, or with their local sporting associations. And that is something we need to look at as a whole and work out, as Mr. Dempo has said, we have to sit, deliberate with GFA, with associations like Gfdc, with the state government, together, how we can bridge that gap where between where Goan football stands today and possibly where other, quality of football in other states has progressed. But per se, I would not be so, brutal on saying that yes, the Goan football has come down. No, it has not. It has definitely progressed where it was maybe 10 years back. But yes, we have a certain way to go to catch up probably with quality of football in other states. That's my view.
One of the when GFDC actually was formed in 2012 with late Chief Minister Mr. Manohar Parrikar declaring football as a state sport. One of the objective, or one of the goal that is set for everyone, or rather for Goan football, he wished that half of the team, half of the team had to be comprising Goan, the national team. And it was not a very, very lofty goal, because at that time, there were 5 players, all from Dempo, representing the national team. Clifford, Samir, Anthony, Mahesh Gawle, all these were regular players. So that was not a lofty goal. But since 2012 to right now, to 2024, let's take the last match as an example. We didn't have a single player in the starting 11. Liston was on the bench. Brendan had not made it because of injury. Now both of them have traveled. We don't know whether both of them will start. So that is where we feel that Goan football is not producing enough players. Like Dempo last won the national title in 2012. After that, Churchill won in 2013. Then there has been a lull. FC Goa became the Shield champions, league trophy in 2019-20. But other clubs are not performing like we were used to. Like we were so used to success. We were so used to Goan clubs finishing 1-2, finishing among the top 3. But that we no longer see now. Vikram, would you like to say something about where do you see Goan football in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think it's a bit of a tricky question, and I think Mr. Dempo was talking about the Manipuri players compared to ours. So what happens at any level, how important it is to win the game, right? So end of the day, we're going to pick the best player for the job. So whether he's Goan or not, but for us being Goan, we have a bias towards Goan players. So we have to give them more opportunities. But now how to create that culture of running, and some of it is just statistical. Like the Northeast players statistically run more. Like if you see kilometers run per game, they run more. So there's definitely that they've done more. If you see the heat maps of the players from the Northeast, they run more than any other player in the country. So there's a way of maybe inculcating this and at a younger level to the players that, listen, whatever it is, as good as your skills are, talent is, you have to work hard. And then I think as he mentioned about some players maybe having bad habits post-game. I think, in Goa we all know about Ronaldo's work ethic and, ability to say no to alcohol first, and that's what's prolonged his career. So it's about creating this discipline amongst the youth at a young age that say, listen, you want to be a serious footballer, forget all this stuff, just focus on what you can and work hard and run hard. But it is not something that has to be taught at a young age, and then it can be groomed, and then once the time comes, then the opportunity will arise. So it's a difficult thing to do, but it's not something we cannot do, I think, but we have to focus on doing it.
Thanks. Ravi, your final thoughts, sir?
To be honest, I think there's 2 ways sort of the outlook from now, say 5-10 years down the line can look. There's one direction where this sort of summit and conclave that we're having remains that, and it does not snowball into something bigger. Or the other way is where everybody who's sitting in this room begins to start to sort of, put their minds together. And it's not just about making a submission, but it's also about acting on it based on that after that. Because I think right now, if you look at some of the other states which are thriving in the sport, I think they have lesser infrastructure than we do as a state. I think there are less professional teams in states than there are in Goa. I think there's less qualified coaches in those states than there are in Goa. There's less interest in general as a culture in that sport than there are in Goa, right? We have enough number of organizations here. The sport has been declared the state sport as well as the official state sport. But I think what happens is a lot of people and a lot of organizations, and everybody's equally guilty in this, I think is we're all working in silos, right? Everybody has a thought process that is isolated in their own way, but there's nobody who's actually putting and aggregating everybody's thoughts and processes together. And that's why it's so fragmented, where there's no discussion around everything, right? There are some level of discussions that happen, but I don't think enough of it happens where we're saying, okay, what is it that we're doing as a collective, as responsible guardians of the sport, to try and ensure that we're making it more accessible to the people who are consuming the sport, more effective to the people who are investing money in it, and importantly, for the players who are ultimately the protagonists of the entire thing, what are we doing to make their sort of, accessibility to the sport easier than ever before? So when you start answering those questions about all the stakeholders that are involved and how that affects everybody else outside, and do it as a collective, then I think you will start to see some progress. Otherwise, essentially, you will have some very generous people pumping money into the sport, but seeing very little return from it, and therefore losing interest. And because that interest is dwindled, then everything else, as a consequence, takes a decline as well.
Yeah, we can take questions from the audience, sir.
So this question goes to Sir Dempo. Sir, during when Dempo plays Salgonkas in past, or Dempo play Churchill, or Dempo playing Sporting in past, even in Goa League, those days played at Rajendra Prasad, the grounds were packed. Even Fathoda, the grounds were packed in I-League, National League that time, I-League, and now you don't see any spectator on the. What can be reason for the decline of spectators in the state?
So, I think one is, people have options today for entertainment. One is the TV has made a big onslaught. You can, in the comfort of your AC room, with a beer in your hand and with a very large screen, you can watch the best game in the world, okay? And now it's going to be even more dangerous because now you are going to get AR, VR, virtual reality. I had put, when I went to the US, I used the new Apple Pro Vision, and I saw a football match live. I'm telling you, being an owner, I would prefer to watch it than watch in the stadium. It is that good, So these are challenges that you're going to face. I also get Marcos's point that as a club, we aren't doing enough for fan development. I think we need to rethink on the strategies, rework on the strategies. That is our effort. But your question, those days we used to absolutely not do anything for the fans. And as Ravi was saying that, the matches were in Duler, here people from Bicholim used to come and watch in Rajendra Prasad. So, but the reason being that probably there was no other entertainment. For the only entertainment for people in Goa was football. They were crazy about football. And I could see what I see in Calcutta now. I could see that in Goa 10, 15 years back. Because I remember the way people, even if a referee had to give a controversial decision, the way people reacted in Goa those days. I used to remember, I used to hate going for a game against Vasco because 90% of the people were Vasco and 10% were Dempos. And their reason was, no, Depoya Lokang Posta and Vasco is a people's game. But it used to be so much fun watching those games. And now you really have to make an effort. The environment is sloppy. As you rightly said, there's not that enthusiasm. So there's definitely a lot of work to be done amongst all of us. We need to relook at how we can rebrand, rework on the Goa Professional League, how we can make it more exciting. So we need to sit, and I'm not saying GFA is not doing enough. They are doing a lot, but we all stakeholders have to sit together and try and make it more exciting. But the question is, today, people have options. And, if you get an India cricket game to Goa, it'll be full. So days are gone when people say, Goa is only a footballing state. So people have options today, and they go for those options.
Thank you, sir.
I think one of the reasons that we always forget is what is the attraction. I think Goan football does not have any heroes as of now. We need to create heroes first, and these heroes will attract the crowd. there was attendance without doing anything because these people had heroes. They had somebody to look forward to admire. Yeah. Now we don't have those heroes anymore. Yeah. Anybody else wants to ask a question? Rahul.
Hi, thanks. I'm Rahul Rodrigues. Thank you to the illustrious panel for your insights and Marcus as well. Mr. Dempo has partly answered the question I had in mind, which was basically what is the impact of easy access to top European football, in terms of stadium attendances. And I'll go back because Vikram mentioned scheduling, which works well when the games are played over the weekend. And then Ravi touched upon, the Premier League not telecasting or not broadcasting all the games live. But that I think is okay when you have a great product. So my question is, how much does it have to do with the product? Because like Mr. Dempo just said, if you have the Indian cricket team here, it will be a house full every day of the week. So how much does it have to do with the product that could, entice audiences back to the stadium?
I think partly, yes, it is the product. And if you're comparing it to the Premier League, that is, say, the best football league, most watched in the world. But if you look at the lower divisions, let's say, even in England, you take, the stadiums are still pretty full. So I think it's about creating the fans and the fan following. So I think, like, if you take the local area now, as Mr. Dempo was mentioning Vasco, so Vasco promotes its own club because it actually has the name of the city. Then more people from there would be keen to go there. So that's why, as I was saying, we had done a tie-up with the school I went to actually. But so we're hoping that those students will have some association with that club, and maybe their parents will take them to the game because they want to. But of course, having it at a time where they can all go as a family and enjoy it versus go to Inox would be a good move. So at least that should be an option. So and the product is good, but the thing is, if you support a team, it does not matter, right? Because whether you're just going to support your team regardless, right? So, and sometimes I say supporting a club is like having a child. You don't care how good or bad they are, you still want them to play well and do well. So, you have an association or some kind of attachment to that club. So that is what we need to create. And I think that existed back in the day, as Mr. Dempo said. As a child, I used to go to Fatota also. And, and it was, it was a very lively experience, So, and maybe that could be part of the reason too, that there's something special about that Fatota stadium in south of Goa where there are maybe more football fans. So it could be considered that, you could look at grounds maybe where there are more football fans rather than in an area where there are less football fans. As you know, where North Goa is, there's a lot of non-Goans come to that side of town. And maybe that's not the, it's something that needs to be explored. I'm not 100% sure on that yet.
I'll just add very quickly to what Vikram's already answered. I think product is paramount. The reason people watch the Premier League is because they feel like that are some of the best and the highest quality of matches. The reason why the stadiums were packed when Tempo would play Salgaocar was because that match more often than not signified the highest quality of football than one could access live in the country, right? More often than not. And I think that is what people are used to. I think people of Goa are a very knowledgeable footballing crowd. They're not easy to fool. So if you don't have the quality that they can sort of feel that they're being entertained by, then you'll very obviously and very quickly realize that, right? So I think the product is paramount in that sense, and it has to be something that we have to do. So I think maybe the large amount of success that Goan clubs have had in the past is probably a problem now because people are used to.
Not able to gather the fan following that you guys used to gather when you all were at your peak.
I don't believe that necessarily. I just felt that the first 2-3 years was initial euphoria. And probably if we had continued, what happened was ISL became a longer league. Probably, the attention span of people is limited. The new generation, when you talk about, they're all this generation of Instagram, Twitter. So, they don't look beyond 5 minutes. They don't read. So attention span of people is going down because there are a lot of distractions. So while, yes, we really enjoyed the fan base and fan support as FC Goa owners, probably if we were continuing to run the team, we also would have faced similar challenges. Having said that, you raised a very interesting point. If you still go to village football tournaments, that same passion is there. You know, on a small ground, you feel that the ground is full. So probably people identify more, as Vikram was saying, if your son is playing, then you know his aunt, his uncle, apart from his parents, brothers, sisters, it's all a village community. You know, it's like going for a local feast or a local zatra. So I think people identify here, there is extra effort needed to go all the way to Duler and then take transport and go. So I think, you know, we need to work around ways how to make this experience. I think football is no longer only football. You have to give an entertainment package to people to come. I remember when we were running FC Goa, people used to call me and says, can I get a pass or a ticket? I says, you never watch football. No, Hrithik Roshan is coming. So, you know, a few thousands of people were because of that. They were not interested in football. Because somebody else is coming, because, you know, all the Bollywood actors are coming, some cricketers are coming, they used to come and watch it. So you have different expectations of people. But at the end of the day, the challenge is for us to build genuine crowd who love football. And that's where we need to work on.
Jonathan, you want? Can someone get a mic?
So I've watched football in the stadium since late 1990s, and that time there used to be a considerable crowd. But towards the late 2000s, there was a huge drop in, I know I-League matches hardly getting 50, 60 spectators. But then suddenly the ISL came in, and again there was a rise in the curve. So my question, or rather view, is maybe because of the novelty factor of the league, of the ISL initially, and the fact that there were some of the best players at that time, like Del Piero, like Robert Pires, playing. So my question is whether that novelty factor helped in the rise in crowd attendances. Also, kickoff timings. I remember in the first season there was a game at 4:30 in the ISL, FC Goa and Mumbai City, and that game was packed. So whether match timing really impact crowds attendances, that is one. And also I would like to touch upon the fact that maybe as Rahul also mentioned, the product, Indian players right now are nowhere in terms of the world standards. So my question is, like, when Goa gets to see the best players like Del Piero, like Robert Pires, they came and watched. But now when the quality of the foreign players are not there, the quality of Indian players are not there, maybe is that one of the reasons for the decline in crowd attendances? Because if you see, in the late 1990s, we had Bruno, Frankie Barreto, Rocky Barreto. And at that time, Premier League had not infiltrated the market. So for them, they were the best. That's why they came to see the best. But now with Premier League shown on TV and quality of Indian players very poor. I mean, I'm being honest. Is that one of the reasons why the crowd attendance is declining?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've answered your question yourself. 100% it is to do with sort of the novelty factor, one, wearing off, and two, also, again, the product being what it is and whether that's sufficient to entice a fan to come and spend their hard-earned money and see whether they're getting value for the money that they're paying, right? And as Mr. Dempo mentioned, maybe you need to create a little bit more around the spectacle itself rather than just the game of 90 minutes, and then they might feel a lot more value in coming to the game. But yeah, 100% novelty is worn off, and people want high quality football, which is not very easily and abundantly available in the country as at this point in time.
Madam Geeta wanted to ask something.
This is one or two questions maybe. I would say, what is the major difference between the European football and the Indian football? And what are the measures to be taken to ensure that India qualify for the World Cup or the Olympics? And my second question will be, like, what are the drawbacks as far as the infrastructure is concerned for the Indian games which are there? And what are the measures to be taken to overcome this?
regarding multiple issues that have been raised, and I think one of the most burning question that has come up is regarding the fan following and people going to the stadiums. That's the first thing, I would like to put our point of view as in a Gino Football Club, though we are the latest entrant into the Pro League. We've done, a lot of thought process has gone from our end as to how we get that, that you get that fan to the stadium. So even if you look at, if you compare cricket, let us just address the elephant in the room, as you say. You compare cricket to football, and you see where Indian cricket was in 1983, prior to 1983, and the success of our Indian cricket team in that one tournament created an entire gamut, an entire universe of heroes for us. And from then on, there was no looking back for, as far as Indian cricket is concerned. It just went from strength to strength. Money began pouring in from all quarters. BCCI was strengthened. Entire infrastructure was created. And we just grew from strength to strength. Then came the IPL, which is basically a franchisee format, wherein, and it was a state-based or a region-based franchisee format, which made people in those particular areas identify with the teams. And success of IPL is unprecedented. It's all for everyone to see. Perhaps, if you look at, before addressing your question regarding Indian cricket, Indian football team, if you look at even Goan football, possibly even at the level of maybe a pro league, it would be worthwhile to explore the possibility of having possible club tie-ups with the audience of particular region. For us, Gino FC, Duler is our home ground. So what we are trying is possibly, to create a sense of belonging, a sense of attachment of the local population. We're trying to identify which areas we can promote Gino FC to that particular area from our end, so that at least people identify. Gino, of course, is a company which is based in Tivim, Karaswada. Duler is not far from there. So we are in Mapsa. So perhaps create that kind of attachment of the locals, maybe from Mapsa, from Tivim, Karaswada, maybe surrounding areas, promote the club, and thereby have a sense of that the people identify with the club. An idea possibly that can be explored further, expanded maybe with mutual discussions, that could possibly get the people on the ground. Definitely an idea, possibilities, or just a thought process of restricting, maybe genuinely restricting streaming, so that the people, if they want to watch their team, if they want to watch their club perform, they have to come on the ground, cheer the team. Timings, everything, it is not a question which can be, it's not a solution, overnight solution. There are so many things, but yes, there has to be a concerted effort by all stakeholders to see everything stems from that particular fan who is going on the football ground to cheer his or her team. And that is the basic difference, if you ask me, between European football and Indian football. ISL, when it started off, it was a mega success. Possibly it still is a huge success by any standard of measurement. It has grown in terms of valuations, it has grown in terms of teams and players and quality, everything. But I think there is a long way to go if you have to compare Indian football with European football in terms of facilities, in terms of people involvement with the clubs. That is unprecedented. You will not have say in Spain you have Real Madrid and a Barcelona match. You are not going to have people watching from home on streaming. They will be on the ground that day to cheer their teams. If you have a international tournament or international match, now they have got the international league which has started. The friendlies concept is out of now it's differently. Even there you have the supporters right there on the ground. So I think if you ask me, if you were to pinpoint one measure which would really impact the quality and the product, as someone said, the product has to improve, that one person, that fan, is the one who decides how the product is going to be. The players get motivated by the fans. You don't like to play in front of empty stadiums. No one gets motivated to play in half stadium. Just as a speaker would not like to speak in front of a half a hall. He would like to have a full audience to speak to. So I think everything stems from that one particular fan who has to go use his feet or car or whatever, go to the stadium and cheer his team. That's it. That's how we need to see, and everything else will take care of itself.
We've already crossed our time. Thanks. Yeah, 1 second, Ravi. Sure. Sorry. Make it quick.
I'll just try and wrap this up as quickly as possible, ma'am, to try and answer 2 questions. The first one is, what is it to make the World Cup? And the second question is, what are we lacking in terms of infrastructure to do that? To make the World Cup, it's not, well, it is of course hard because every country in the world is trying to do that, but it's not impossible because Iceland had a population of 1.6 million, which is less than Goa, and made it to the World Cup. Uruguay is a country that has lesser population than Goa and makes it to every single World Cup. The one thing that they have in their culture is that football runs in their blood, which we also say that it does in Goa. But what happens there is that when a child is born there, from the age of 3 to 4, he's already being put into academy by the parents and all that. So sport is ingrained into that society there. And then that child has that opportunity because the footballing infrastructure exists. When I mean the thought process exists where there is a coach who's capable of identifying that talent. Then there is another coach who's capable of nurturing that talent. And then there is a platform for that boy to be able to go and display it, because then he goes and plays at a global level. When all of those structures fall into place, I think then footballers will start emerging. And when there is 20,000 good footballers in the country who are playing at decent level, maybe at the Asian level or the global level, then you will definitely find 11 from there who can take your country to the World Cup. And what do we lack in terms of infrastructure? Actually, Goa has some of the best infrastructure in the country. For every village that there is a football ground to it. There's actually 200 football fields in Goa that we've sort of done a research on. I think the problem is that not everybody has access to those 200 football grounds. Once that access is created and a child can feel like I can walk down to the football ground in my village and be able to play on it, then I'm pretty sure that that opportunity will exist. They don't have to be perfect carpets for them to play on, because I'm pretty sure that when Messi was growing up, he was not playing on the Bernabeu or Camp Nou or Tilak Maidan or Fatoda level facilities. He was playing on stone and mud grounds, but he still made it as a footballer because he grew up in the hardship and he understood how hard it was to make it.
Thanks. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Marcus and the panelists. May I request Dr. Geeta Nagwekar to kindly present mementos to our panelists and our moderator. To the panelists. Mr. Dempo. Dr. Sagar. Mr. Vikram. And Ravi Pushkar. Thank you very much, sir. Ma'am, to the moderator. Thank you, Marcus, and the panelists for a very interactive session. Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall take a very short break for refreshments. Refreshments are served at the door to your left. Please be back in exactly 10 minutes. Thank you. Check.